Hey everybody, thanks for coming to watch the show. Today I'm going to be showing you my playthrough of some of the hardest battle scenarios on the arcade mode in Battlefront 2, and I was trying to get all 3 stars on all of the arcade modes to try and unlock the Han Solo skin, which I know is a little bit dumb, and I'm probably one of like 10 people that's actually gone through with the whole thing because it's so much work for just one skin. But one day I was just thinking to myself, just sitting there looking at games to play, and I'm like, you know what, I'd really like to have Han Solo with a beard. So I think I'm going to put 20 hours into the arcade mode in Battlefront 2, just for that one skin. I don't know if it actually took me that long, but it did take me a really long time, especially with these battle scenarios that I'm showing in the gameplay. These 4 that I had the most trouble with, and it seems like the ones that people as a whole that were playing these had the most trouble with. So I'm going to be giving a few tips for each one of these scenarios, and those are Hope cannot save them, resistance, and embrace the dark side. Embrace the dark side is probably the toughest one out of all of these, so I'm going to be showing you a few tips for that one especially. But some of these, it's just pretty much luck and persistence, just going through and doing it as many times as you can to try and figure out the patterns. But this first one here, Hope cannot save them. The basic trick that I found to this one, a lot of people were saying to try and lure the NPCs underground and have them funnel to you, which that actually does not work anymore. They've patched that out, and so now you pretty much just have to kind of run around and try and get as many kills as you can at first, like, because once you get past the first 5 or 6 kills or so, it seems like they start to really swarm at you and you don't really have to look for targets anymore. So that's the main hard part about this particular scenario, is just trying to find people at first, because there's hardly anyone. But once you get past the first few kills, it gets a lot easier. So I don't know if that trick is going to do it for you, but that's pretty much what I used to get through this scenario. So I'm not going to be talking through this whole video, just at the beginning of each scenario to kind of give you guys my tips and tricks that I used to get through it. So if you do want to skip to the exact times when I give you the hints or whatever, then I'll put those times down in the description for you guys to look at. So signing off till the next scenario. So whereas the last scenario's problem was that you had to kill so many people with such a small amount of time, the hard part about Hope is that you have no health. You die in one shot. So it's basically just about staying in cover and memorizing where people are. But if you put a turret down where I just did right there, that will help you from getting flanked, because that killed me a couple times. But if you'll notice, these first 3 troopers always come from the same spot. There's one on the far side, one behind those stack of containers, and then one comes around the corner right here, and you can just, if you memorize where they go, then it's really easy to get those first 3. And then these other guys come running in from the far end. So a lot of this one is just kind of like playing through it and figuring out where the troopers are going to come from and just trying to memorize that. So I had to do this one a few times. It's not the hardest one. I'd say the first Hope cannot save them and embrace the dark side are probably the hardest ones, but this one still was a little bit tricky. Resistance is another one of the simulations or scenarios that isn't super tricky, but I had a little bit of trouble with it, so you guys may have as well. So a couple of tips for this one is basically to just never stop moving. Even if you don't see anybody, just kind of keep moving around, because it is kind of difficult to get the ball rolling, as it was with Hope cannot save them, because once you kill the first few, then there starts to be a ton of people, but it takes a little bit longer for this one, I thought. And Luke isn't very powerful, like his melee strikes aren't very strong, so if you rely on just his lightsaber, then this is probably going to be a lot more difficult than it needs to be. The great thing about this scenario is that it recharges his abilities like almost instantly, so I pretty much just used the force push and impulse or repulse mode or ability. I pretty much used those two like the whole time just to get all my kills, especially since those are good for multiple kills at a time. That's really helpful helpful for this one. So basically, hints for this one: keep moving, don't use the lightsaber very much, and just make sure you use your force push and impulse or repulse abilities. I can't get that one right for some reason, but make sure you use those two abilities and keep moving. Embrace the dark side, the one that gave me the most trouble, and it was almost impossible if you don't have a good strategy. And I did a little bit of research for this one, and some people had figured out that if you kind of get these first 4 or 5 troopers that come out of the castle to come after you, then that's the best way to start this game mode. So you basically kind of bait those few troopers out, and you hide behind this tree over here, and then once all of them are out in the clearing, you try and take them out as fast as possible. Darth Maul's spiral attack, and then this choke hold worked really good for me. But this one again is very much about luck. But an important thing to do after you've killed those first 4 or 5 troopers is to hit the respawn button. This is where the luck comes in, because you're gonna want to hope that you respawn inside the castle, because that's where everybody's gonna be, and so you want to try and respawn inside there. If you don't respawn inside the castle, it's pretty much impossible to get anywhere, because you're fighting the clock the entire time. I don't think my time goes over like 15 or 18 seconds the whole time, so it's constantly trying to beat the odds, basically. So this one is very much about luck. This one took a ton of tries to get, but it is doable. As you can see in my video, I prove that the impossible is possible. So basically, like I said, just take out those first 4 or 5 guys, bait them out into the clearing and hide behind the tree, and then take them out really quick, and then hit the respawn button as fast as possible and hope that you get inside the castle. Because once you're in there and you get a few more kills, everybody kind of starts to be bunched up a little bit more. So this one, like I said, it is almost impossible, but it is not totally impossible. And now, after all of that hard work, we've reached the end where you finally get to see the smuggler Han Solo. And it wasn't all that hard work and sacrifice worth the trouble. Look at that. A beard. Isn't that just amazing? That's great, yeah. Well, I think it's pretty cool, and in hindsight, I don't really have many regrets about putting all the time into this that I did, and I don't think that you will either. And if you use my tips and tricks, I have no doubt in my mind that you too can join me in Han Solo Smuggler Heaven, where you can use this skin and flex on all the scrubs in Battlefront 2. So, hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I hope that my kind of little hints and tips kind of helped you out a little bit if you were struggling with these. I know this game has been out for a little while, so you may have already done these, or you may have just given up if if you saw them and you saw how difficult it was. So I hope that I reached you before you reached the point of giving up, and if not, maybe this will spark some interest in you again, and you'll want to go back and try and do them. So I hope that one or all of those apply to you, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.